PGR eSports' second largest week on record kicks off as a busy Tuesday night across the PGR scene rolls on with its third and final show of the evening. Tonight, the Challenger Cup Series, and 19 of Challenger's best roll into one of the most historic facilities in racing history. Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the venue tonight as round 4 of the second season of 2026, and the Challenger Cup Series brings us to the Brickyard. One driver will leave with the glory of being an Indy winner and get to kiss the bricks after 110 laps and steal away glory heading in to an off week. Tonight, there's a lot to talk about, not only for the week ahead, but for what we have in store for you tonight. But we'd like to welcome you to virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana, and tonight's production of PGR eSports and the Challenger Cup Series. My name is Dawson Weiss. Happy to have you with me tonight on a Challenger Tuesday. 19 of the series best have arrived at Indy for one of the longest races in the series history. 110 laps on tap tonight. A longer one as compared to the North Wilkesboro race length of 145 laps that we had last week. One of the shorter races in series history. Tonight sure to be a long one, to say the least. So buckle up, grab a snack, and let's get down to business. Qualifying is just about over on the racetrack. That means it's time to put the starters on the grid and meet the starters for tonight's 110 lapper from Indianapolis. Again, you heard me preface the show by saying it is a big week for PGR. Before we get going tonight, I should go ahead and preface as we start to head down trackside. I'm going to try to tone things down a little bit with my voice tonight. I've got a lot of racing to cover this week. In fact, the next 5 days, the next 6 if you count tonight, leading up to Sunday afternoon, I'm calling racing every single night this week. So I'm going to try to keep it a little bit toned down. You all know me very well by this point. It's very hard for me to do that. But nonetheless, we're going to try to keep it a little bit more toned down than what we're used to here tonight. Again, still working on a couple of display issues in terms of some overlays, so it's going to be somewhat bare bones. We've got some things fixed here tonight and looking a lot cleaner for you than they did last week, and that includes our starting grid for this evening's event from Indianapolis. On the pole, by virtue of his quick time of just over 52 seconds flat, it is the newly debuting driver last week in North Wilkesboro, the dominant car of the night in Wilkesboro last week. He was not able to get the job done. He'll start on pole and have another effort at it tonight. Zach Lockett will start from pole position once again. Alongside him, Ryan Patty in the 30 was the winner in Wilkesboro last week. He'll start from second. Back on row number 2, it'll be Harold Watkins back in the Ghost Chevrolet tonight on the inside of that second row. Outside of him, the red, white, and blue Monster Ford Mustang. That is Chris Mackey, who continues an impressive rookie campaign. He'll start from 4th. Row 3, Cody Eldred will start from 5th in the black, gold, and camo. Number 14 machine, the familiar colors back for him, as well as Andrew Little, who will start to his outside in the 6th spot. Row 4, Christian Strader brings that similar Sabrina Carpenter Reese's car, a very unique look for him. He'll start from 7th tonight alongside the Oscar Mayer Chevy, that's James Catrone. And rounding up the top 10, Hunter Carlson will go from the inside in P9, alongside the Liquid Death Ford Mustang, dark horse of Adam Pettit, who had a good effort at Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, looking to get back into the top 5 tonight. Row 6, Greg Bourbonier back in the all-white Miller Lite Camry. He'll go from 11th place on the grid. Alongside him, the High Rock Chevy, that's Brandon Beauchamp. Row 7, Steve Potter back in the Haviland colors tonight will roll from 13th. Alongside him, Anthony Raso in the black and orange microwave batteries, number 17. Row 8 is going to be Brian Cunningham, the Budweiser Chevy, alongside John Velocity back in the yellow, white, and blue Napa colors tonight. Last year's Season 1 and overall champ in 2025. And the last row on the field, Bill Gartner in the Red Bull Chevrolet and Steven Rasick in the 21. A couple of cars towards the tail end. Catrone's actually going to pit start. Mike Martino in the Garage Beer Chevrolet rounds out the field tonight. Again, one car is opting to pit start tonight. Pierce James Catrone has missed the grid for tonight's race, so he will start from the pits, and we'll get a bit of a late go tonight. But again, that stage is pretty early. It's just short of the quarter mark at the lap 25 marker of tonight's race. Indy is the venue. Flat, 4 turns, rectangular shaped racetrack, one of the more unique racetrack shapes. It is as historic as a racing venue can be. Again, it's hosted over 100 Indianapolis 500s, over 25 Brickyard 400s in its long tenured history. It has some of the greatest moments in the history of automobile racing that have taken place inside these sacred facility walls. And tonight, the Challenger Cup Series makes its return to the Brickyard. as round 4 of this second season of 2026 gets on tap tonight. A long week begins for me, a long week begins for PGR. Of course, this is the lead up and my final show before we begin the 3rd annual PGR Summer Slam 499. I'll tell you all about that throughout the evening as we go here, give you all the details that you need to know headed into PGR's 2nd largest event by entries on record coming up this week at Talladega. But tonight there is business to be attended to, and that is the Challenger Cup Series at 19 of the best going to battle at the Brickyard. One driver will kiss the bricks, 18 more will head into the off week asking questions and looking for a reset. Zach Lockett and Ryan Patty bring the field into the restart zone for the first time. Barney the flagman waiting on the signal from race control when they hit the restart zone. Green flag is in the air. The Challenger Cup Series is underway from the Brickyard. Field Rockets off of turn number 4, lap 1 in the books. You saw Zach Lockett, the pole sitter. Ryan Patty overtook him in turn 1. Lockett then got the wall right there at the exit of turn number 3, and Chris Mackey and Harold Watkins and Andrew Little all overtook him. Lockett from 2nd to 5th. The Steve Potter half spins out back. That's 13th on the racetrack right now. Unsure if they got any added power. I know that was talked about throughout the week. We'll have to find out maybe at the stage break if these drivers got any additional horsepower under these Gen 7 race cars. Mackey chasing Patty, and this is going to be a lot of the racing today. This next-gen car has not exactly been translating to incredible racing quality this week, both on the iRacing service as well as in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series Brickyard 400 this past Sunday. It is single file, it is draft-based, and dirty air is about as bad as it can get because this is a one-lane racetrack. There's not really a viable option. Trouble towards the back of the field. Steven Rasick is out of control here in turn 4. He has appeared to sustain some damage on the outside wall of the final corner of the racetrack and will put us under the first caution on lap number 2. Let's go back and get a look at what happened as our first caution is out here tonight. So Steven Rasick running towards the tail end of the field. Actually, it's going to be in front of him, so let's back this up just a little bit more because Brian Cunningham and Anthony Raso are actually the two cars that are going to come together. We're high above this racetrack. They're both in the center of your screen there. Raso in the black and orange car, Cunningham in the red Budweiser Chevrolet. We'll get a little bit closer to the incident. Looks like Raso runs way up out of the groove in turn 3. He's going to get the wall. Nowhere for Cunningham to go. He gets right to the back of Raso, who's already out of shape. They both go to their right and into the fence. And then Rasick comes along from behind. Cunningham turns left off the wall. Rasick goes to go high, and as he's on the brakes, combined with that wheel input, it gets him around and into the outside wall. A pretty considerable hit there for Steven Rasick. And we'll look at one more angle here before we get back under the green flag. As again, see Raso and Cunningham up ahead, and Rasick as he tries to both get into the brakes and turn the wheel right to avoid the Brian Cunningham machine. He goes dead right, and that car spins halfway around, and he's into the outside. Well, first caution on the racetrack on lap 2. We will head back up front into live action. Half the field going to come to pit road, half going to stay out. Cars that pit under this caution: Harold Watkins, Zach Lockett, Hunter Carlson, and then some cars towards the tail end: Bill Gartner, Mike Martino, and then the 3 cars involved in the caution: Raso, Cunningham, and Rasick. Everyone else opting to stay on the speedway for the time being. Ryan Patty continues to lead over Chris Mackey and Andrew Little. Let's first talk about the points coming into tonight for the Challenger Cup Series. Again, as the night goes on, I'll tell you all about this week. It's an exciting week for all of us. You're going to hear me talk a lot about it, maybe too much, over the course of tonight. Coming out of North Wilkesboro, just for this season, Ryan Patty already holding a somewhat narrow points lead over Harold Watkins, a 33-point advantage for the defending champion. Heading tonight into the Brickyard, Watkins second in points, Eldred third, 46 points back in the lead. Chris Mackey 47 points back in the points lead. Matt Hayden 55 points back. We do not have Matt Hayden in the field tonight. Greg Bourbonier was sixth in points, leaving North Wilkesboro. Lane Phillips was seventh. He's not in the field tonight either. Then Strader Velocity and Carlson. In terms of full season points, of course, a full season chase is going to take place at the end of this second season. Actually, it starts in Darlington, 5 races before the season 2 chase. And again, as that comes up, we'll give you more of an idea of exactly when that's going to start. It's about 4 or 5 weeks from right now. Ryan Patty holds a 264-point lead. 274-point lead, if I've counted that right now. I think it is 264-point lead over Harold Watkins. Andrew Little, 100 points back of Watkins in third. Then it's Matt Hayden in the fourth spot. Cody Eldred, fifth. Followed by a few drivers we haven't really seen. Woodby is sixth. That's Clinton Woodby. David Traylor is eighth. Bourbonier, seventh. Catrone, ninth. Modesty, 10th. Coming into tonight. So Ryan Patty already a stranglehold not only on the full season, but on this second season of 2026 as we head into a stop at the Brickyard. So again, I've mentioned it a couple times, so let's go ahead and tell you about it as we get ready to go back under the green flag. Actually, we'll talk about that in our next caution, or our stage caution, potentially. Talking about the schedule, we do have an off week next Tuesday night. There is no Challenger Cup Series action next Tuesday night, as we are following the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Of course, this upcoming week is an off week for the National Series. So Challenger Cup Series will follow NASCAR's lead and take an off week next Tuesday night. Keep that in mind as we head forward into this next week. We will not race next Tuesday night. In fact, many series that follow the NASCAR Cup Series schedule are going to take the week off next week. So keep that in mind. No race next week. We will pick this series back up at Richmond, I believe. It's either Iowa or Richmond in 2 weeks when we come back from that off week. So keep that in mind. Again, there is an off week next week, and it could not have come at a better time for some of us, again, who will be doing a lot of work over the course of the weekend. A little taste of that. We'll talk more about it as the night goes on, but really trying to, obviously wanting to focus on the guys on the racetrack tonight, but also it's a huge week for PGR eSports. Myself, Austin Green, who you've heard on a number of broadcasts, Michael Triscaro, the promotion co-owner Matthew Baker. We've been hard at work on the SummerSlam 499. If you've watched any of our marquee events, the PGR 500 in February, the SummerSlam 499 was kind of the first marquee event idea that the series had back in July of 2023. It became a full-length race in 2024, and we are running another one here in 2026. It's with the next-gen car this year, 240 entries. Again, the second largest entry list for a marquee event in PGR history. We've now had 5 marquee events. This comes in the second spot only to this year's PGR 500, which saw 336. This one sells out at 240 entries. They'll contest 8 heat races over the next 3 days. It starts tomorrow night at 9 p.m. right here on PGR Esports Heats 1 and 2. And next time we talk about it, I'll tell you some of the names to expect in a couple of those heat races. Time to go back racing from Indy, though. Ryan Patty leads over Chris Mackey. They'll work back to the restart zone. Green flag's going to go back in the air, and away the field goes towards turn number 1. It's pretty, all things considered, pretty calm on that opening start. Zach Lockett, who now runs towards the tail end of the field, repaired some damage there, getting the wall. Amongst the leaders, it's been pretty calm to this point in this race. Strader will look for 4th on Eldred. That's again 4 rows back in the field as Patty works the field back to turn 2 and races down the long back straightaway here at Indy. He will not snake for the draft. Now he will. He'll draw the field down to the white line, draw some draft shades of Indy cars and roll down the back straightaway. Patty nearly putting the left set in the grass, comes right back up to the racing line, and will enter turn 3 ahead of Chris Mackey by about 6 car lengths. Battle is for 4th. Eldred on the outside, Strader on the inside. Pettit right behind them in the 41 or the 49. Then Bourbonier and Velocity, who is +8 already the Season 1 2025 and overall 2025 Challenger Cup Series champ, wants to make it +9. the inside of Bourbonnais here off turn 4. Schrader got 4th from Eldred right there as they work down to the start-finish line. Pettit trying to get 5th, and Velocity may fill the gap, try to make it 3 for 1 here in turn 1. Eldred stuck in no man's land outside groove of the racetrack. We'll be able to power in front of Pettit right here. He will. So for Cody Eldred, that's a big move to maintain a spot in the top 5, potentially pick up a stage point here at about 19 laps from now. The field works down the back straightaway. Not a ton of battles going on right now. Mackey is within about 3/10. We're going to keep it here because John Velocity is prepping for a pass on Adam Pettit here into turn 3. Pettit going to drive in on Eldred. See some dirty air weight come across the nose. It's going to slow him up here into turn 3. Behind them, James Catrone is on the move. Remember, James Catrone slated to start 8th tonight. Started from the pits. He's up to 9th as of lap 7. Trying to get the stage points conversation. Patty is pulled away by about half a second or so. Again, the draft's going to keep Chris Mackey pretty close. Similar to Michigan a few weeks back. If you remember that race back in the month of June. And it's similar to what we're going to see tonight. The draft's going to keep guys kind of lined up and keep you within striking distance unless there is a guy that is head and shoulders above the field. Of course, we know what Ryan Patty has been able to do so far this season. Trouble, big trouble at that. Somebody's engine has expired towards the tail end of the field. Mike Martino is one of the cars involved. Are there other cars involved here? Thought there was going to be some trouble around the Zach Lockett machine, but no, it does appear as if it is just Mike Martino, and the caution flag is out once again. We'll take a look back here. Oh, Martino got the wall there off the corner, and overcorrects and goes hard into the outside wall. Man, that's a monster hit as he got around in a self-spin there off turn 1, and the engine immediately went on the Martino car. He had to tow back to pit road. We'll take one more look at this as well from different angles, show you kind of the magnitude of this hit that Martino just took. An overcorrect right here off turn 1. He's actually going to get the wall, try to pull it off the wall. He goes right. Big hit. You hear the engine pop right there as he got down the banking at turn 2. A big one. For Mike Martino's second caution is just past the lap 10 mark. So let's head back up front. Again, it's live action once again. It's Ryan Patty leads again over Mackey, Little, Schrader, and Eldred. The tires got as high as 10th right there. Harold Watkins, one of the first cars to pit. He is back to the 10th position on the racetrack right now. Back into the caution again, second time tonight. If you're just joining us, Challenger Cup Series action from Indianapolis, round 4. The second season of 2026. Again, more info on what's coming up this weekend. We'll have to hold off because the leader's going to pit here. Oh, never mind. Ryan Patty pulling a fast one on myself here on the microphone. A couple cars will pit. Carlson, Potter, Rayso, Cunningham, Racek. Remember, Rayso, Cunningham, Racek all involved in caution number 1 back just 5 laps ago. Potter and Carlson going to bring their cars pit road as well. Let's talk a little bit more about what we got coming up this weekend. Again, it is the SummerSlam 499 as we get ready for the second biggest event of the year. It'll be the next gen race car that you see tonight. Will be at virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Begins tonight, or rather tomorrow night at 9 p.m. That's heat number 1. Which is going to be contested to open the proceedings. Speaking just on tomorrow, and again, some of the names you're going to see this week. Again, so it's very similar to the Podium 500, the PGR 500 back in February, or any elimination-style 500-mile event that you've seen on this service. It's very similar to that. 240 drivers have been split into 8 30-man heat races. There'll be 30 laps in length. The top 3 out of each heat race will advance directly to Sunday afternoon's feature, as well as a top 24 shootout race to determine the starting grid, at least for the top 12 rows of the SummerSlam 499. The next several cars in line will contest 2 last chance qualifiers on Saturday evening. As we kind of set the final few spots in the field, those drivers will get the final 16 spots or so. A couple of interesting wrinkles this year. Again, that top 24 race is going to set not only the pole position, but the top 24 starting spots. They'll be locked into their starting spot for Sunday afternoon's feature. And then we have an interesting wrinkle called the Last Chance Provisional Race. And basically what that race is an opportunity for some of the drivers that chose to sponsor the event this year. We're going to get an opportunity to race for a final feature provisional spot. There's already 25 spots, I believe, open for that race. 23 as of last night. 2 more have been added on behalf of our partners at SimRat Market as of today. So 25 drivers are going to contest a race where only the winner makes it into the SummerSlam 499. It is quite possibly the most consequential single race in PGR history in terms of the stakes that are on the line. 1 driver advances, 24 go home and will not race. That's going to be a lot of fun. That's on Saturday night, along with that top 24 race, along with the last chance qualifiers. The heat races are the next 3 days as we get ready to kind of open proceedings. Here are just some of the names you're going to see over the next 3 days in heat races, and then we'll go back green here from Indianapolis. Just some of the names you're going to see over the next several days. Jack Mace is a veteran driver on the service. Eugene Mozganov will make his PGR debut this week. Cole Larson, Matt Lee, a couple of seasoned veterans. Of course, the series owner Michael Triscaro will take his attempt. Yaroslav Donskoy returns, another seasoned driver from the iRacing service, as is Adam Garza, who started nearly every PGR Crown Jewel event to this point. Looking down the list, just a little bit of some guys that you can expect to see throughout this event. Alex Hill's a former PGR SummerSlam winner. He did not win it as a full-length event. He won the first one back in 2023 when it was 94 laps. He'll make an attempt at this year's SummerSlam 499. Malik Gray is the 2-time defending winner of the race and the championship belt. He returns looking for belt number 3. Raul Alves, Sean Conklin, Tommy Gossett, 3 drivers who have been around the service for the longest time. They'll all race in the same heat race later on in the week. Dylan Basin is a driver who's well known across the service at this point in his career. Looking down the list even further, Michael Guest, a Coke Series driver. He'll make another start. He started last year's SummerSlam. Wyatt Gray, the defending PGR 500 winner, makes a start this year in a heat race. Daniel Falkingham is a PGR 500 winner and a Coke Series winner. He'll start and try to win his second Crown Jewel, trying to be the only man to win both of the Crown Jewels. Kevin Champagne is well known across the service, amongst some others that I cannot name at this point. Just plenty of big-name drivers going to show up for that event. Come out, watch some races this week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to it. Back to green in Indianapolis. Ryan Patty continues to lead this one as the Challenger Cup Series is back underway. We're down to 14 laps to go in Stage 1. Again, only 12 laps into this race. We're in for a long one tonight. Shortly 110 laps, one of the longest distances the series has ever seen for a single race. Comes up tonight at Indy. Patty's led all 12 of them so far as he took the lead from Zach Lockett on the opening lap tonight. Strader alongside Andrew Little trying to get the outside to work through turn 1. That would be for third. And move Christian Strader onto a spot in the podium, and he will do just that. Zach Lockett is inside of Harold Watkins out back. That's for 9th. We'll keep it up here because Chris Mackey is as close as he's been so far to Ryan Patty up front. And you see him poking the headlight out here. He's trying to avoid dirty air. Turn 4 area of the racetrack. He's trying to get that headlight. Poke trouble. Cody Eldred's around in the 14. And again, we're going to go back to the caution. More cars crashing. Lockett, Catrone, Raso, Rasick, Cunningham. A multi-car accident towards the back of the field as multiple cars get around. And the third caution of the night comes out on lap number 15. And we're in for a long one tonight. Go back and take a look at what happened to Cody Eldred here. Oh, it was back before this. Adam Pettit got into him there in turn 4. I'm not sure how I didn't catch this. Right back behind the leaders. Going into turn 4 right here. Is he going to get some help from Adam Pettit? Kind of overdriving the corner. Is he going to come down? Maybe a little bit of both. You see Eldred there drifting down just a little bit. Pettit about a half a lane off the bottom, and they make some contact, and then around goes the Eldred car. This is a long spin. He's actually going to get hit by Watkins. Lockett gets a piece of this. And up ahead, Catrone comes back across Lockett, and Rasick tries to jump on the brakes. That's the second time he spun like that into Raso. A number of cars involved in this one. Look up ahead at the Eldred car. Again, he was the first one to get out of shape. Let's see the contact here. Between Pettit and Eldred. Right there, Eldred coming down. Pettit about a half lane off the bottom. Eldred almost makes the save. Then spins. Harold Watkins gets into it. The head drone back across the field. A few other cars come into it as well. As the third caution is on the speedway just past lap 15. So Ryan Patty continues to lead. Chris Mackey is second. Christian Schrader's third. Andrew Little is fourth. And Adam Pettit is in the fifth spot. As we get ready for another restart. Again here, just past the lap 15 mark. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, watching some Challenger Cup Series action. Hopefully going to be testing some new broadcast overlays in the next couple of weeks. Kind of doing some updating, doing some testing and learning, if you will, on some new overlay styles. So going to be testing some things out, seeing what exactly we can do, how creative we can get here on PGR eSports. Gonna have a great broadcast team with me this week. Let's talk a little bit about them as we get ready for another restart here outside of lap 15. Again, inside 10 laps to go in this opening stage. Let's talk about my broadcast team for this week a little bit. Again, I'm going to be the primary voice throughout the week. All 5 nights I'm going to be in the broadcast booth, other than the top 24 race, I believe, or the last chance provisional race, sorry, on Saturday night. But other than that, you're going to hear me quite a bit coming up this weekend. Looking forward to it. Our wonderful producer, Christian Hill, going to make a PGR return this weekend. I know he's doing Saturday. I know he's doing Sunday's race for sure. I think he might be doing some work for us Saturday. The last chance qualifiers and the top 24 shootout race. So we'll see if he's back. Christian, one of the best in the business. Great to work with. He's done every marquee event to this point in terms of the feature, in terms of doing our production, and was a part of the PGR 500 back in February. We made our debut on the iRacing page. That is the case again this year, by the way. Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Tune into the iRacing official YouTube page to see a simulcast of the SummerSlam 499. Thanks to all the folks in iRacing, specifically Drew Adamson, for being kind of the liaison between PGR and iRacing and getting us onto that kind of platform. It's been a huge privilege. It was a big privilege in February for myself and Austin and Christian and all of us at PGR to be a part of that. But this year it's going to be especially cool to be the lead voice on a show on that channel. Again, I'm extremely grateful, privileged to be where I am, to have the opportunities that I do, including one on Sunday. That it's going to be a really special weekend for sure. But Christian Hill comes back with the graphics on the production controls. He does a fantastic job, and excited to have him back with us. But over the course of the weekend, you'll hear from a number of voices. Series owner Michael Triscaro and co-owner Matthew Baker are going to make some appearances, although they are both attempting the race as well as doing some race control work throughout the week. My usual partner in crime, Austin Green, returns. That will be tomorrow night is when you'll hear him for Heats 1 and 2. Excited to have him back on the call with me for a couple of races tomorrow. Thursday night, blessed to have Moonshiners Racing League primary voice, as well as the primary voice of Cyber Thunder on Tuesday, as well as a lot of work with Kart Chaser, kart racing in real life as well. Justin Prince is going to join me on Thursday. And the legendary Garrett Jenkins, a.k.a. Jim Bob, is going to join me on Friday night for some heat racing. Cannot wait to get him in the booth. It was a fun time with him the other night calling the McCullough Motorsports race, and it's going to be an absolute honor to have him in the booth with me for this week as well. We'll tell you more about the broadcast team as we go throughout the night, but the green flag is back out. 10 to go in stage number 1, lap 16 on the board at Indianapolis. Again, we're in for a bit of a long one tonight. So buckle up again, grab a snack, grab a drink if you haven't already, because this one could get a little bit long, man. Big wiggle there for Strader. That was third. He's going to lose that spot to Andrew Little. He may lose fourth to Adam Pettit. Very momentum-based racetrack is Indianapolis, and Strader will go from third to make it fourth for now. He may keep that spot as Pettit tries to work the outside of turn 3. Once you're up to speed, the outside not quite as viable. Strader will hold on to the spot for now. Patty leads over Mackey. It's about a 2 to 3 car length advantage here at the front of the field. As field works back off of turn number 4. A couple of housekeeping notes. Mike Martino is a lap down, running the tail end of the field. He's the only car 1 lap down. John Velocity called it a night back on lap 14 after that last incident. I did not catch him get a piece of that incident. Regardless, he has called it a night. So I'm sure there on the Velocity machine what exactly has gone down for the 84, but the Season 1 2025 champ has called it a night here early from the Brickyard. Oh, trouble. Brandon Beauchamp got around. That was the 15 out back. I saw him half spin. He's going to spin it back up. This is going to draw the caution, surely. It doesn't. Wow. What a job by the field and what a job by Beauchamp to keep that car somehow underneath him and not completely jackknife across the field. I thought for sure we were bound for a caution flag right there. Oh, Steve Potter's had some trouble in the 94. He's gotten the wall off turn 3 and appears to have some major damage to that Avalon Chevrolet. He's trying to limp it back around and may very well come to pit road right here off turn 4. Nope, he's going to keep it out for now. So Steve Potter continues to run, and we head back up front. This battle on the racetrack is going to be the battle for third. Mackey's pulled away, or rather, Patty's pulled away by 7/10 of a second. Zach Lockett is still on the comeback trail. Got involved in that caution as well. But it's back to the 7th spot. That's back of these guys. He's just past Harold Watkins. Tennessee Titans branded Toyota Camry. It's back into the 7th spot for the first time in a while. Remember, started on pole, got overtaken on the opening lap, then got involved in the opening lap caution and had to go towards the tail end of the field. So keep an eye on Lockett, his progress as this race continues forward. Andrew Little's pulled away from Christian Schrader by just a little bit. Strung out just a tad in front of the field. Again, it continues to be Patty, then Mackey, then Little. Patty had a slide a moment ago, I believe, as he was off frame. He has lost a considerable amount of that lead to Chris Mackey, but I believe he was out of frame. He's either out of frame or I was looking at timing, and if so, it's obviously my apologies. Watkins and Gartner having a battle here. How about Bill Gartner in the Red Bull Chevrolet? He'll overtake Watkins. He's in the top 8, plus 9 for Bill Gartner. In the 26, Watkins does have some damage. You wonder if the 3, the Ghost Chevrolet, is going the wrong way. Because that damaged Bourbonnier got loose right there, he's going to get split both ways. Eldred outside, Catrone inside. But Bill Gartner to the 8th position in the Red Bull Chevrolet as he works forward on the racetrack. A really great effort from him. And as soon as we go off frame, this battle gets back to close to where it was, but we're going to go all the way back up front because Chris Mackey has yet to let Ryan Patty get away on this run. He got away a moment ago, about a 7/10 lead, but now the tires have grabbed the racetrack just a little bit. Chris Mackey continues to run pretty good lap times here and utilize the draft to catch the Ryan Patty machine and at least stay with him and maintain arm's length of the race leader. 5 laps to go, stage number 1, 21 on the board, 90 to go still. Battle for second. Strader got to the inside of Mackey right there off turn 2. As his car has dialed in here in the late stages of stage 1, he'll go blowing on by Mackey. That's for the second spot, but he slides on entry. Mackey tries to cross over. Can't quite do it. He'll drop in behind and see that dirty air. He'll have to drop 2 car lengths off Schrader there in turn 4 again. It's very hard to pass in this car at this racetrack. And Mackey right there, not much he can do. He might have had some momentum, but it just is snuffed out by the dirty air effects across this next-gen race car. Back to turn 1, 4 laps to go. Schrader continues to run second ahead of Mackey. Now Little will set his sights on the Mackey machine. Zach Lockett has set his sights on Hunter Carlson. That would be for 6th. He might get into the stage points. I don't think he'll get to these leaders here. He'll need a reset here at the end of stage 1 to get back to the race leaders. Speaking of the race leaders, Patty continues to lead, but Schrader starts to whittle that lead down just a little bit. He's cut about a 1/10.5 off the lead. And the backstretch last time. He'll might have to lift here off turn 3. Now, that was a really good turn 3 for Schrader. He's not quite in the dirty air yet, though. Patty's been the best over on this end of the racetrack off turn 4, and he's the best there again by about a 1/10. He's really able to carry a lot of momentum, and Lockett's going to flip the stage here. Zach Lockett's going to come to pit road under green with 4 laps to go, make it 3, and flip the stage. And it's a smart decision considering the fact he's not in the full season points, and he's got a little bit of work to do, missing a couple of races, so he's got to prioritize race finishes. Stage points will be a big deal, but he's got to get on the board with a good finish first. Remember last week at North Wilkesboro, did not go the way he planned in that race. Led a lot of laps, but got caught up in some trouble late, trying to get back to the lead after a pit call with about 50 laps to go. And he never got back to the race lead. So tonight he's going to prioritize the end of this race and try to put himself in position to win this thing when push comes to shove here in just a little while. So Lockett will likely stay on the lead lap. In fact, he is just rolling into turn 1 now. You heard his engine spooling up over in turn 1. It's going to be interesting to see whether he stays on the lead lap here. Patty's just now into 1. He continues to maintain about a 6/10 lead over Christian Schrader. As the field works back 2 to go stage 1. Patty again by 6/10. Schrader's continuing to cut some distance off this gap due to the draft down the back and front straightaways. He's not been able to get a ton closer than that. By the way, further back in the field, Cody Eltred passed Bill Gartner for 8th. Greg Bourbonier passed Harold Watkins for 10th. Passes there. Lockett may very well stay on the lead lap. In fact, he's well ahead of the leader here, so he's probably going to end up staying on the lead lap. And if that's the case, if he can hustle around and get back to the pace car, he is going to inherit the race lead here on a stage flip strategy, which again, missing 2 races, being in a points hole to start the year, why not prioritize a potential race victory tonight in Indy to put yourself back in that conversation rather than a few stage points, which again, later in the year, maybe you'll think differently, but tonight, get a match and it might be the winning strategy. Christian Schrader trying still to take gap off from Ryan Patty, but again, right there, Patty gains 2/10 back and rolls away by 7.5 here down the back straightaway. So a dominant first stage for Ryan Patty. He overtook the lead from Zach Lockett on the opening lap, has not looked back since, and has led really the first quarter of this one from the Brickyard. No one has been able to get back past him at any point so far in this race. Will anybody be able to get past him is the question now. That question will be reserved for stage 2. Ryan Patty is dominant as ever, the defending Challenger Cup Series champion, back to his ways again. He wins stage 1. Schrader, Mackey, Little, Pettit will capture the top 5 stage points. So all come by the line. The caution should be coming here any moment. It will re-rack the field for stage 2. As they do come down pit road and reset for stage 2, we will take a reset with them. We're going to take the brief commercial break, the first and hopefully only one of the evening. As we go side by side, you're not going to miss a moment of the pit cycle. We'll be right back for the conclusion of the Challenger Cup Series, round 4 of 2026 season 2 from Indianapolis.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by 3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
created our own drink company. The fastest growing sports drink in history.
We will run! We will run! Ladies and gentlemen, we got
The monkey has prime!
this season, we are hydrated.
The official sports drink of the UFC. It's time!
Oh, that's good.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Welcome back to virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway as round 4 of the Challenger Cup Series 2026 Season 2 rolls on. Just past the stage break at the end of stage 1, the only stage break of the evening. As lap 25 has come and gone, we'll run the rest of the race distance out under the green flag. And if that run was any indication, this thing might get into a green flag run, which would mean that this race would kind of enter a rhythm here late in the going. Zach Lockett flipped stage 1, coming to pit road with 3 laps to go. He has retained the lead, now rather re-inherited the lead at the end of stage 1, as he will lead the field back to green. Now, first time he has led since starting on pole back at the beginning of this race. Ryan Patty's going to restart to his right side in second. Chris Mackey and Andrew Little, Chris Mackey and James Catrone will be on row 2. Remember, Catrone pit started in this race, was supposed to start 8th. He's up to the 4th spot now. Row 3 going to be Andrew Little and Hunter Carlson. Row 4, Greg Bourbonier and Harold Watkins, and row 5, Christian Strader and Adam Pettit. So again, Ryan Patty's led the first 25 laps until now. Zach Lockett, inheriting the lead, is going to tick off a couple on his tally for his young career here in the Challenger Cup Series. Again, debuted last week at North Wilkesboro and was the dominant car there. Set the best qualifying time tonight, trying to get back to leading laps here after being overtaken in turn 1 on the opening lap. Never again found the lead, was involved in a couple incidents, but now is race set to the front of the field and is ready to try to hold off the field here in stage number 2. Again, if you're just joining us, Challenger Cup Series action from Indy. My name is Dawson Wise, and you're watching PGR eSports. If you do like what you're seeing so far, consider giving the stream a like, but also subscribe to PGR eSports. So many big things coming up, not only for our usual weekly series, but this week in general. It is SummerSlam week. SummerSlam 499, the 3rd annual full-length summer marquee event for PGR eSports, kicks off tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on PGR eSports. Myself, Austin Green, back at it again from virtual Talladega. Several big names will make their attempt at the SummerSlam 499. Malik Ray trying to become the first man to ever win 3 crown jewels in a row across the service. That is unheard of territory, but others trying to make history as well. We'll tell you more about that if time allows later on in the night. Zach Lockett, Ryan Patty going to lead us back to the restart zone. Stage 2 is set to get underway. Green flag back in the air from the Brickyard, and Lockett this time is off and running. He beats Patty to the punch, unlike the opening start. This time he'll lead the field to turn 1. Patty on the outside of Mackey. Contact between the two. Mackey trying to get second from Patty here on the opening jump of stage 2. Patty going to run him as far down as he possibly can. Mackey shouldered him just a little bit there on the exit of turn 2 and maintains second for now. Now the question for Mackey is, can he get the lead ahead of Lockett here? It's a different car in front of him. He could not run down Ryan Patty. Can he run down Zach Lockett here in the opening run of stage 2? Or will Lockett start to do the same thing Ryan Patty just did a few moments ago? Run away with this thing just a little bit. .30:1:10 will become 31. 80 laps to go at the Brickyard when we come by the line. Some jockeying up at Gartner, Eldred, Oraso, and company, with the top 9 or so on the racetrack have singled out. Top 10 back to Bourbonnais. No battles inside the top 10 right now. Everybody's single filed out on lap 31. Briefly want to finish my thought from a second ago before the end, or before the restart here at stage 2. A couple other drivers looking to make some history this week. Daniel Falkingham looking to become the first man to ever win both crown jewels, the PGR 500. Of course, he was the inaugural PGR 500 champion back in 2025. Looking to win the SummerSlam to complete the PGR gauntlet, if you will, winning both crown jewel races. Of course, we talked about Malik Ray, a potential 3rd in a row. He's been the only driver to win the Marquee Summer event as a full-length race. Alex Hill won the event as a 94-lapper back in 2023. And then Wyatt Gray, the defending winner of the PGR 500, one of the youngest winners in PGR Series history, trying to become the first man to sweep both the 500 and the SummerSlam in the same year. If you'll remember back last year, Daniel Falkingham had the opportunity off turn 4 to make a move on Malik Ray and win last year's SummerSlam that would have completed a Grand Slam year. He would have won the PGR Championship, the PGR 500, and the PGR SummerSlam 499 all in the same year. He was not able to make that pass. He finished second in that race, and so that opportunity now arrives to Wyatt Gray to be the first man to sweep the events in the same year. All 3 will start in a heat race. Of course, Malik Ray can lean on a provisional for Sunday as a previous champion, but the other 2 will have to race in. 3 men trying to make PGR and sim racing history on Sunday afternoon when that race goes green, amongst many others that are awaiting the big win in their career, or others that are just lacking a PGR crown jewel to cap off a resume in super speedway racing. Back to the business here. 77 to go at the line. Lockett, Mackey, Patty, Little Catrone, still your top 5. And again, there have been hardly much in terms of moves other than Christian Schrader getting back to 7th. He lost a few spots on pit road on the stage break and has maneuvered his way back to the 7th spot. Other than that, not much going on inside this lead group right now. Continue to work lap 33. Chris Mackey stayed closer this time to Lockett than he did to Patty just a moment ago. Lockett continues to lead for now. Mackey keeping him close. Patty is slotted 3rd. Little is slotted in 4th. Then it's about a 10-car length gap because they're going to try 3 wide. Back around the Catrone machine. He slid off turn 2. Schrader split right between Watkins and Catrone and goes 7th to 5th on the end of the back straightaway. Catrone was slow off the exit at turn 2. Both cars go past him, and Schrader benefits the most as he's up to 5th. Again, it's about an 8/10 difference between now Schrader and Little. 4th to 5th. He's going to have to make it up to get back to that lead group. Get back to Catrone again. We'll keep an eye on the delta there on the left side of your screen between Little and Schrader as to how close the Schrader and Watkins machines can get to this battle. It continues on to the top 5 spots, top 4 spots rather. James Catrone thought he was going to get overlapped there by Adam Pettit. He has stabilized things just a little bit here on lap 35. So as of right now, he has maintained the 7th spot on the racetrack, at least for the time being. Pettit will launch another rally here on the entrance of turn 3. He's not going to quite get close enough to make the pass, but certainly now is in a pretty good position to get to James Catrone here and make the pass. Catrone runs a little bit wide, has to jump in. The binder's just a little bit there in turn 3. Pettit look to the inside, can't get there, and we'll see the arrow wash here in turn 4. And he drops 4 car lengths back once again. Andrew Little being hounded. Here comes Schrader up to his back bumper. 3/10 the difference between the two cars as they both work down the front straightaway and back to turn 175 to go at the Brickyard. About 20 laps from halfway. Lockett continues to lead, but Mackey is keeping this again closer now than it was when Patty was out front of the field. Those are your top 3 just ahead of this brewing battle for 4th. Andrew Little holds the spot, but Christian Schrader is there. Pokes a headlight out and may very well get close here on turn 4 and try to make a run at it. The other end of the speedway here in just a sec. Back Pettit, Bourbonnier, Carlson. I'll go to the inside of Catrone. That's for the 7th spot. We'll keep it here for the time being as the battle for 3rd continues to work onto the speed. It looks like Catrone actually just got the spot back. He did. He crossed over on Adam Pettit and is trying to get the spot back. The help goes to the outside. Bourbonnier gives a little bit of draft push to Adam Pettit. Catrone trying to hang on the left rear, gets a little bit of momentum at the end of the straightaway, and will hang there here to turn 3. Drive it in deep. Pettit trying to hold on to the outside here and maintain this spot. This will be for 7. He's doing a pretty good job of it so far, is Pettit. Holding on to that outside lane. Granted, he's got some draft help from out back from Bourbonnier, and that's going to vault him back to that spot again here into turn 1. Catrone's not going away. He continues to rally on the inside, but a big slide right there. I think it's going to be all she wrote for that battle. Pettit drives on by Bourbonnier to the inside, trying to make it 2 for 1. Poke the nose in on the entrance to turn 2. May have to lift out of it here just a little bit, but gets a decent drive off. Now, Carlson actually is going to slide in, let him stay in line. This battle will cool off for a second. Up front, here comes Chris Mackey. Remember back a couple of weeks ago at Atlanta, Mackey made the bonsai move on the exit of turn number 2 to get to the inside of the race leaders and have a shot at his first career win in his 2nd career start. Now tonight, in career start number 4, he's looking forward again, and again he's in the picture here with 72 to go. You got some dirty air right there. By the way, Christian Schrader to the inside of Andrew Little. Let's go back there. That's the battle for 4th. Harold Watkins has arrived on scene of this as well in the 6th spot. Does Watkins think about 3 wide here? Nope, he'll push Schrader for now. And both work to turn 3. That's going to be enough help for Schrader to maintain that spot. Little drives it in hard, and maybe too hard, works too far up the racetrack. He's going to allow Watkins to his inside here. So this is for 5th. Both cars will go on by. Schrader to 3rd, or rather Schrader to 4th, Watkins to 5th. Back to Chris Mackey. 2 weeks ago at Atlanta. 3rd off turn 2, makes the bonsai move, doesn't get any help, doesn't get the run, can't quite get the job done at the line. Finishes 3rd. Last week at North Wilkesboro, leads much of the last 50 laps on a pit call, holds off attempt after attempt by Ryan Patty to get back to the race lead, and then spins, coming to the white flag. And in heartbreaking fashion, lost that one as well. Now tonight at the Brickyard, he continues to run 2nd with just 70 laps to go. He's going to have to negotiate pit strategy. Be in this one when it comes down to it. But if he can do that, he'll certainly be in the picture once again for another shot at his first career win. Going to drive right up towards the back end of Zach Lockett here down the front stretch. They've gapped Ryan Patty by just a little bit. And here comes Chris Mackey. Trying to keep the headlight poked out. That's where you can get a run off the corner and turn your car through the center. He's trying to poke a headlight left. That's been the strategy all run. Put the lefts on the curb and try to poke the headlight left. And it's kept him pretty well close, pretty well within 2 to 3 tenths of the leader this entire run. Over here is where he's better. Lockett, I think, is better on the turn 1 and 2 end of the racetrack. Mackey is better over here in turns 3 and 4, although he kind of had to arc his corner a little bit differently right there. But again, I think he's better on those two ends of on those two corners of the speedway. On this end, Lockett is better on the other end over here on turns 1 and 2. But Ryan Patty has cut about 4 tenths off the gap as well here. He's back into the picture. Mackey looked the other way there in turn 1. It's not going to benefit him a ton, although coming across that wake doesn't appear to do much to the car. He's actually going to get a pretty good drive off turn 1 to be able to set up the drive through turn 2 and down the back straightaway, although he got a little bit tight, but maintains and is going to draft right back up. So Mackey's learning some things here over on this end of the racetrack now to maintain the pace with Zach Lockett. The pressure is on for the race leader. A pair of series rookies leading the champ here at Indy, and Lockett may have got a little bit high, a little bit over anxious there in turn 3. And Mackey comes right to his back bumper, and he's been better in turn 4. This would be the opportunity for Chris Mackey right here. It's as close as he's been with 68 to go. A tenth is about a car length. Does he lean a nose out of line here? He's thinking about it certainly into turn 1. Has to back it up. Think better of it and got the dirty air wake right there. So now they'll have to reset as Ryan Patty gets to his back bumper. Turn 2, Mackey again, a pretty good turn 2 there. I think he's the faster car. He's got to find a way around Zach Lockett. This trio is driven away from Christian Strader by about 6 tenths, although Strader has cut down the gap just a little bit the last few times. In fact, last time by fastest car in Virtual Speedway, Indiana, was the Reese's Ford Mustang of Christian Strader. Looking for his first oval win in the series since last year. I want to say at Dover, and I'm going to have him correct me if that's wrong, but I want to say it was last year at Dover that was his last oval win in the series. Because shortly after the beginning of Season 2, we didn't see Christian Strader a lot last year, so he'll have to correct me on that one if I'm in fact wrong, but I think that would be his last oval win in this series. Ooh, Mackey got bad arrow wash right there. Lockett drives away, pushes about a 6 car length gap now. The guys behind him. So Zach Lockett now starts to get a little bit of breathing room here in the mid-run. So we'll approach 65 laps to go here at the line. Part of it could be that Lockett has a good long-run speed. Part of it can also be the fact that Mackey, when he slips just a little bit or gets an arrow wash, it also affects the Patty and Schrader cars because they're all running the same groove. So when he drops back, they all do. So I think that's partly what is affecting Patty and Schrader here and allowing Lockett to slip away just a little, is that Mackey started to deal with the arrow wash, potentially dealing with a little bit of tire loss as well. As this run continues on, he's not nearly as close this time as they work down the back straightaway again. Still a long way to go, though. Not even 10 laps from halfway. And Mackey's been the better car on this end and now starting to pick the pace back up just a little bit again. And here he comes, starting to drive back up to Lockett's machine. So, maybe scratch what I said. Just took him a couple laps to wind that thing back up and get it back moving to the front. 65 to go with the line. 10 laps short of halfway. Zach Lockett continues to lead the way at Indy, but Chris Mackey, again, is keeping him honest. Ryan Patty, Christian Strader are in this. Harold Watkins has not been able to really get much closer than he is right now. Continues to be Zach Lockett ahead of the field by about 3/10 right now. Patty Schrader under a blanket. Then it's a big gap back to Watkins. Then a big gap back to Little. Then a gap back to Pettit and Bourbonier, who runs 7th and 8th. Another good run for Greg Bourbonier. Inside the top 10 again. Driving the 00, the Miller Lite Camry. So he continues what has been a fantastic campaign to start this one so far in the first 3 races of this second season. Ooh, big push tight there for Mackey. He had to jump out of the throttle there off turn 2, and he'll lose a considerable amount of time to the Lockett machine as Patty works up on him. Kind of reached that middle stage of the race. Everything is singled out and spread out. Let's do a couple housekeeping notes really quickly. Bill Gartner has just blinked out completely on lap 46. He was running 12th. And now it's completely blinked off the speedway. We'll have to see if he comes back. But as of now, he might have had a technical issue or a connection issue. So Bill Gartner, we'll see if he's gone behind the wall. Brandon Beauchamp is 1 lap down in the 15th position. A couple of incidents for him tonight. Same for Mike Martino, who is 3 laps down. 3 cars are out of tonight's race. Steve Potter as of lap 38. Stephen Rasick as of lap 27. And John Velocity as of lap 14. All cars that have taken their cars behind the wall in this race. Notably, Martino and I think Beauchamp are about to lose 1 additional lap. They are both running right here in turn 1. And just short of halfway. Going to talk a little bit more as we get into this mid-run before we get to the pit stop cycle, which, by the way, is 70% fuel load on board these Gen 7 race cars tonight. So we'll await a pit stop. We'll talk a little bit more about this week in the meantime as we are getting to that point. We'll talk a little bit more about this week and what the SummerSlam 499 will entail. Again, my broadcast team. Oh, well, right as we say that, we're going to have a battle for second. Chris Mackey's fallen to the clutches of Ryan Patty. Blocking him down the speedway. Doesn't want to let Patty to the inside. Going to try to make him go outside. And Patty jumps into binders. Into turn 1. Can't quite make the pass. And then a big slide there as Martino goes a 4th lap down. Again, my broadcast team, Austin Green, tomorrow night, the voice of the Intimidator Super Speedway Series, the Grindstone Development Truck Series, which is live now over on PGR eSports as well. He'll be with me tomorrow night for Heats 1 and 2. Again, it will be Justin Prince, the voice of the Moonshiners Racing League, and CMD Janitorial Cup Series, as well as the voice of Cyber Thunder. And right as we say that, pit stops. Lockett will be first, and he'll be about 4 laps earlier than the remainder of the field because remember, he flipped the stage to end stage 1 with 3 laps to go, so he'll have to pit about 4 to 5 laps earlier than the rest of the leaders. So Zach Lockett opens the pit cycle, the first of the lead cars to come down pit road on lap 51. Again, Justin Prince is going to be joining me Thursday night for Heats 3, 4, and 5. And then Jim Bob, Garrett Jenkins, voice of McCullough Motorsports, here on PGR eSports, going to be joining me for Heats 6, 7, and 8 on Friday night. Which, Heat 7, I will tell you now, is one of the most stacked heat races I have ever seen in one of these events for a full-length race. It has double-digit, huge names that will go to battle in that 7th heat race. It is, again, one of the strongest races I've ever seen top to bottom in terms of the stakes that are on the line. At this point, unsure who's going to be calling the main race with me on Sunday for 499 miles. We're still working that plan out as we speak. but certainly looking forward to being the lead play-by-play voice for that pre-race coverage. We're planning to go live around 1:30 p.m. Eastern for a 2 p.m. Eastern green flag for the SummerSlam 499 on Sunday afternoon. Again, we'll be both on here on PGR eSports, so subscribe if you haven't already, but also simulcasted on the iRacing official YouTube page. Exciting stuff, to say the absolute least, coming up for PGR eSports. Tell you a little bit more about that again as we wrap up the show tonight. We'll give you the primer for exactly how the event's going to work and where you're going to be able to find all of the racing throughout the week and when things start. But for now, business to be attended to, so we're just past the halfway point. Rather, we're just short of the halfway point. Tonight from Indianapolis, Chris Mackey's opened up an 8.5-tenth lead. Looking at the delta on the left side of the screen, and Zach Lockett has picked up about a second on the leaders since he came off pit road on new tires. For reference, best lap of the race for Mackey was a 52.29. His last lap being 52.43. So the laps still are falling off just a little. But Lockett continues to gain a little bit of time on the race leaders. And I wonder if he's found a partner, because he was not. Earlier when he flipped the stage, he was losing time. Now he's by himself. They're just running good lap times as Lockett, in fact, ran one of his best laps of the race last time by a 52.22, 3.5 tenths faster than the leader. Lockett will likely cycle out the leader here when all's said and done, and if it's a big enough lead, it may be all she wrote for the rest of the field without a caution for him. Here we go, Chris Mackey is going to bring his Ford Mustang to pit road on lap 54. So with 57 to go, Mackey will come to pit road. On this pace, we went back green on lap 31. I would expect to see pit stops sometime around lap 80. And I would not be surprised, as the later this run gets, if drivers are trying to stretch it on just 2 more total pit stops, counting this one. I think it's a no for Lockett for sure in flipping the stage. I think he'll have to make 2 more after this one. I think Chris Mackey is in that same boat as well. I think he'll be about 5 laps short, rather about 3 laps short. For the rest of the leaders, we're getting to a point where they could almost justify trying to stretch this on just 1 more stop. Schrader and Patty are both going to come to pit road here. So too is Watkins. So too is Little. So too is Pettit. So too is Bourbonier. So too is Martino. 1 car has opted to stay out and potentially throw a wrench in this race. Cody Eldred, who continues to search for win number 1, has come close a number of times and has tried this pit strategy already this year. Or rather, last year, I believe it was. Regardless, he has done this stretch strategy before. It has almost paid off for him in the past. If he could do it again, and this time, if everything goes to plan for him and this race stays green, he'll come down right here. He will have run about 27 laps, counting the couple of caution laps, about 26 green flag laps on fuel. That's going to be dangerously close. And it's going to put him within 1 to 2 laps of the finish. I tell you, folks, I would not be surprised. And right behind him is a driver who, if you remember last year at Kansas, pulled the pit strategy and won the race by pitting only once and stretching the fuel. That's Hunter Carlson. I'm going to be very interested. We'll see if they can go the distance here. They got to go about 27 laps to be good for sure on 1 more stop. We'll wait and see if they're able to do just that. The battle for the provisional lead for now, rather, actually has become the battle for the lead once again. The gap for Zach Lockett actually wasn't as big as I thought. when he came off pit road. And Chris Mackey is right on his bumper. Ryan Patty not too far back, and neither is Christian Schrader. And again, now you have the dueling storylines. And, you know, in that I say for Zach Lockett and Chris Mackey, looking for win number 1. Lockett looking for win number 1 in his second start. Mackey in his 4th start. Mackey, after 2 heartbreaking losses, looking to cash in this week and finally get the long-awaited victory. Again, at this point, would be 3 weeks in a row that he's got a really fast race car and comes up just a little bit short. For Ryan Patty, of course, it's same old, same old. For Christian Schrader, first oval win in about a year, which would be a big accomplishment for him. And then the dueling with Hunter Carlson, who's not won since May of 2025 at Kansas. And for Cody Eldred, a potential to win your first career race after a long time of waiting. And this goes back past Challenger Cup Series. This goes back to the OP Racing Throwback Series, which Eldred, at least it was my introduction to Cody Eldred back a few years ago at this point. This is a long time coming. It was a long time coming in October for Matt Hayden. Matt Hayden, in races that I broadcast, it was across a couple of different leagues, had not gone to victory lane on a race where I'd broadcasted. He'd won races. He won a couple of them, actually, on nights where it was not broadcasted. His first broadcasted win with me in the broadcast booth after about 3 years of waiting came last October. For Cody Eldred, it's now the similar boat. But it's going to come down to, can he save enough gas? Now, the good thing is, he's caught the group with Andrew Little and Adam Pettit and company, where he can tow along. He can save some gas on this run and potentially make this work. And so now, the duel of strategies begins. And that's the beauty of racing, right? That's why we watch it. That's why we are so engrossed in it. It's why it makes us feel something. It's why we're on the edge of our seat, anxious, waiting for the next moment, waiting for the next race, waiting for the next big win, first win, return win, breakthrough win. It's why we're always waiting for that. And I've been very grateful, very lucky in my limited, about 5 years of broadcasting, to see a number of those victories across several different series, whether super speedway or otherwise. I've gotten to be a part of some really big time wins. Again, first career wins, getting to watch guys grow into the drivers they are now, return wins after a long time being gone, overdue wins, guys that have come up short just a few too many times and finally get the job done. Breakthrough wins. Again, Wyatt Gray comes to mind back in February in the 500. That was a special moment. You know, historic wins. Malik Ray last year in the SummerSlam 499, back-to-back crown jewel wins. So again, I've gotten to see a number of really, really cool moments across several different series. You know, Ryan Patty's run and his development into a superstar in this series, his bursting onto the scene last year to his championship run, and you know, Harold Watkins' win at Phoenix last November after coming up short in Pocono in Season 1, getting the win in Season 2 and winning at Phoenix and finally capturing that championship, which you could argue he deserved not only just for the Season 1, but the overall championship as well. You know, for Watkins to get that win, or, you know, Matt Hayden's win, again, the long time coming type win for Matt Hayden, for Andrew Little as well, a couple of wins last year. The debut win for David Traylor and Clinton Woodby to open up Season 1 of this year, and Traylor's win at Charlotte in the Kyle Busch Tribute Scheme, and you know, just even in this series, just getting to see a number of special wins. Will it play out tonight for Lockett, Mackey, or Eldred? I don't know. It's hard to know. Racing Racing can be unpredictable. Racing can be unforgiving, to say the absolute least. But tonight, an opportunity for something really, truly special. Again, the lap number to keep an eye on. If Cody Eldred is to make it to the end of tonight's race, I think is about lap 84. He came to pit road on lap 56 to 57. I think if he can make it to 84, we would have at least a case that he could make it to the end on just that one stop. And he would have a pretty considerable gap when he came off pit road, when these other guys, Lockett, Mackey, Patty, etc., make their final pit stop. He would have a pretty considerable gap. I mean, it would be like Carlson in Kansas last year. They would not catch him. He could coast the car. He could turn the car off going into turn one, Kyle Larson style at Nashville in 2021. He could turn the car off and make it work. So, something to keep an eye on, but still a very long way to go, and this race could take multiple turns by that point as well. Lockett's opened up a 6-10 lead on Chris Mackey, who continues to run second. For the guys Mackey, Patty, and Schrader, they just can't let Lockett get too far away. They got to keep him within arm's length here. Now, he's getting a little bit of draft toe off Brian Cunningham, so that's helping just a little. But Mackey and Patty and Schrader, they got to keep him within arm's length here. They got to keep him within arm's distance when this final pit stop happens in about the next 20 laps or so. .45 to go at the line. We're past halfway at this point. It'll be lap 66 when Zach Lockett comes around and sees the start-finish line, flashes by the flag stand again. They just lapped past Brian Cunningham to put him one lap down a second ago. They'll do the same to Anthony Raso right here. It'll be a ways before we see any more lap traffic. That would be James Catrone, who is a good 20 seconds in front of the leaders. Top four have jumped away from Harold Watkins by almost 6 seconds here in turn one. So it really is a 4-car race at this point. Again, they're doing enough right now to keep Zach Lockett from driving away. Give themselves a chance later. We are about 15 laps short of the start of the next pit cycle. Well, I would anticipate the leaders to be on pit road. That's Lockett, Mackey, Patty, Strader, Watkins, Pettit, Little. I would expect those guys to come to pit road in about, I would say, even less than 15 laps at this point. 12 laps or so. Eldred and Carlson are going to be the wild cards here. In terms of how much are they saving now, it looks like Eldred's pace has dropped off quite a bit on this run. He's dropped about 2 seconds off Adam Pettit just in the last 8 laps or so. You wonder if Eldred is starting to save. His lap times consistently are about 9/10 slower than the leader. I think he's going to try it. And if you're Cody Eldred, why not? Coming into tonight, Cody Eldred was 3rd in points. He is already almost 70 points clear of the chase cut line after week 3. In full season points, he is 5th. He is going to make the chase as they run right now. He is 400 points up on that gap. To me, it's a question of what is there to lose. He was running right about where he is right now anyway in the 7th position. Why not save a little gas and try to make this thing work? And come what may. Because the field is so spread out right now that if Cody Eldred can make it on just one more pit stop, and these guys all have to make two. Again, the field's so spread out, there's not going to be a big draft line that these guys can jump in and get right back to Eldred. He's going to have a 20 to 30 second lead, which he could then, again, continue to save on that last run and get to the end of the race. You wonder if he is now saving to try it. His lap times have come up just a little bit the past couple laps, although he is still about 0.6 slower than the leader. So again, I wonder if he is in full conservation save mode. Chris Mackey's coming to pit road now. And unsure what the deal is here. So I think it's a little bit early. I mean, we'll see. I'm a bit curious here on what the call is for Mackey. He's going to come to pit road here. We'll see if the leaders start following him. Maybe I've just been completely wrong on the fuel distance. I don't think we had another caution after the stage break. We went back around on lap 31. We've not had a caution since then. So, Mackey, you wonder if he's cutting it in half? Maybe trying to just cut every run in half, kind of evenly split it, kind of reduce his pit stop time. See if Zach Lockett answers here off turn 4. No, Lockett's going to stay on the speedway. Remember, Lockett pit to flip the stage after stage 1. You would anticipate that he would have come earlier than the Chris Mackey machine. Instead, he's going to stay on the racetrack. Everyone else is. This is an interesting call from Chris Mackey. So he has come to pit road for his second green flag stop on lap 70. I think we're going to wait about another 8 laps until the leaders come into pit road. Lockett will be a couple laps earlier than everybody else. Again, he's off cycle because he flipped stage 1. I'm really interested to see how this works for Mackey. Again, if Eldred and Carlson are able to only make one stop, I don't think it's going to win him the race, certainly. Although the times have come up again for Eldred. He's now only 0.3 off the leader. So you wonder if now he's starting to hit the go button. Has he gotten to his number? Potentially make lap 84. If he makes the 84, folks, the last 25 laps of this race are going to be so interesting. And how many times has the Brickyard come down to fuel mileage? Both the Brickyard 400 and the Indianapolis 500. How many times has that race come down to fuel mileage? And tonight, you'll wonder if we are heading for that same situation. We're about 6 laps from when I expect Zach Lockett to pit. Again, he was earlier than the rest of the leaders. He is going to be the first one to open that second stint of green flag pit stops. If he pits any sooner than lap 84, we can assume he will not make the end of the race. I would expect Patty, Schrader, Watkins, and company on lap about 81. I would look for Eldred to target lap 84. Hunter Carlson is in that boat too. Let's run down the field, at least the cars on the lead lap for you. Zach Lockett leads by 2.8 seconds over Ryan Patty. He's opened up a big lead. Patty and Schrader run nose to tail, second and third. There is no challenge from Schrader right now as they're trying to keep as close to Zach Lockett as they can. Harold Watkins is 7 seconds back of Schrader in 4th. Adam Pettit is 5th. Then it's Cody Eldred, 16 seconds back in 6th. Now, the problem is the more time he loses to Lockett, the less advantage he'll have on just one pit stop. He would have to gain it back when these guys all make a stop, so it'd be more like about 15 seconds, not 30. And actually still may be pretty close to 30. So again, even being 16 seconds back, it may still be a considerable advantage for Eldred, who runs 6. Andrew Little's on the leader strategy. He runs 7. Hunter Carlson's the other car that ran along. He is 8th. Bourbonier, Catrone, both on the leader strategy, are close. They're 9th and 10th. Then Chris Mackey, who just pit on lap 70, he is 11th. He pit early and cut the run in half, trying to reduce his pit stop time. Those are the 11 cars on the lead lap that we'll pay attention to here on this potential last pit stop for a couple of cars. Again, I still anticipate that it's the second to last stop for Lockett, Patty, Schrader, Watkins, Pettit, Little, Bourbonnier, and Catrone. About 5 laps away from most of the leaders, and still a long ways to go for Eldred and Carlson if they're going to make this happen. Eldred, Carlson, both running similar to the leaders' times now, by the way. They're about within a tenth now. Ryan Patty's times have really fallen off here. They are now 3.6 seconds back. So Lockett can kind of relax here for a moment as well. Think about this pit stop. And we're just a few laps away from that. We are 35 laps, 36, from the checkered flag. Lockett's lead is now 4 seconds. Ryan Patty's times have really fallen off here. He's on a 52.92. Eldred's on a 52.60. Carlson's times have fallen off as well. You wonder if he's got to save a little bit more gas. He's a second off the leader in terms of lap times. 76 on the board, 35 to go. Zach Lockett still with a big lead. But again, we will start to watch for the pit cycle. When exactly these pit stops happen, as to whether or not some of these guys, a couple of these guys, are going to be able to make this happen again. This would be a very special win for Cody Eldred if this were to happen. It would be a great celebration, and it's hard not to root for a guy like Cody Eldred. It's a guy who works on cars, races a little bit in real life, has exposure with racing in real life, is a veteran of the sim and of leagues that I've been a part of. A core member of the Challenger Cup Series is Zach Lockett. He's going to bring his car to pit road on lap 76. This is a little bit earlier, I think, than I anticipated to see him on pit road. In fact, it is. He pit around lap 50, I want to say 55. No, I think he pit a little earlier than that. So I think this is on schedule. Eldred and Carlson came in on lap 57. And that's why I said they had to make it 27 and 27 to end the race. That would have put Lockett on pit road around lap 52. So this is pretty on schedule for Zach Lockett. This will put him back on pit road with about 8 laps to go in the race. Again, he's about 4 laps shorter than the rest of the leaders because he flipped the stage, remember, at the end of stage 1. So Lockett comes to pit road. His second to last stop is complete, at least from the numbers that I have available to me. Now we wait the rest of the leaders. And the longer these guys go, the more chance I think the Eldred and Carlson contingent have of making this work. 78 on the board. 33 to go. The waiting game is on. It's been a waiting game since the last pit stop. Again, with how these numbers line up, it's razor thin. And it would be a gamble, but they don't call it a field gamble for nothing. Real quick, for this second pit stop, I want to thank those that have used the chat there for their attendance and participation. DJ Thomas in the chat, one of the drivers that will contest the SummerSlam 499 this week and be in the field. So he will race in heat number 7. Also, series veteran Stephen Luttrell, a playoff driver from last year, is in the chat as well. Man, I'll tell you, maybe this is just me. I think these two cars are starting to sink. It certainly appears as if they're out of the gas a little bit longer in turn 1 and 2. And perhaps is that why they were losing some time to Zach Lockett? You wonder if maybe they're starting to sink. So the gap back to Lockett is closing up quickly. Are these two trying to make it? Well, that throws an entire new wrench in the race. If these next several cars are also attempting to make it. Now, they got to go another 5 laps. And they pit earlier than Eldred and Carlson. I mean, this would be a severe stretch. Or would it? Because, again, if they come just a lap or two earlier than Eldred and Carlson, would that be enough to be able to stretch the tank? Patty's got the car off. Ryan Patty has his car turned off in turn 1. I think they're going to try to make this. Boy, oh boy. Throw a wrench in everything here at the Brickyard. Because if these two are able to make it again, then Cody Eldred's strategy is out the door unless these two run out of gas. Which, remember, they came to pit road earlier than Eldred and Carlson. They have to go longer. Oh, man. Patty gets the wall there in turn 3. He's got right front damage on that car now. Yes, he got the wall. They're going to stay out again. Hold everything. Hold everything. We thought we had this race figured out. We don't. We do not. At all. You hear Patty right there. We're going to go on board with him here on the end of the back straightaway. I want you to listen to the Ryan Patty car. Listen to this. That car is turned off. He has the ignition switch down in the corners. Shades of Kyle Larson back at Nashville Superspeedway in 2021. When he enters the corner here, listen, he's going to take the ignition out. And roll halfway through. I don't know if he's turning the car completely off. You heard him kind of spool it a little bit there. He's got the clutch kicked in. So he's kicking the clutch and essentially powering down the motor there in every corner of this racetrack. He is attempting to make it. Oh, well, this one just got interesting. Because these guys are going to make that lap 84 number. And if that's the case for Cody Eldred, he's got to go get these guys. He's got to try to pass them. He's gaining a ton of time because these guys' delta have fallen way off of what Zach Lockett and company are running right now. In fact, Harold Watkins has picked up 4 seconds just in the last 4 laps. So these guys are starting to slowly save fuel. So everybody's going to gamble. Couple cars on pit road. Andrew Little and Adam Pettit have made their pit stops. So has Greg Bourbonier with 28 laps to go. Zach Lockett, I think he's on the wrong end of this. And I'm afraid Cody Eldred's going to be on the wrong end of it too. Because I think Patty and Strader have done enough on this run to save and make the end of the race. So you wonder now, if they would come in this time, I think they've got enough to make it. I wondered about everybody else making 84. Here comes Ryan Patty. So he'll be the first of these saving cars to come to pit road. Harold Watkins will join him. Strader and Eldred stay out. Is Strader clutching? No, he is not. Eldred's not either. Those two cars continue to run as scheduled. Patty, Watkins, Carlson, Catrone. So Carlson makes the stop right here. Strader and Eldred are going to go a lap longer. Now my question with this becomes the give and take between save and go on this last run. And who does it benefit more? Because how close are Lockett and Mackey going to be with the pace coming down? How close are those two cars going to be when they make their last pit stop? Could they drive around these guys here and open up a gap to where if they make a second stop, they could still realistically maybe be in contention for the win? Here comes Strader. Here comes Eldred, the last two cars to pit. And the lead for Zach Lockett is going to be 18 seconds. It's only going to be 2.5 over Mackey. Mackey has to make another pit stop as well. But the lead over Patty and the cars that have been saving is going to be 18 plus seconds. Because Lockett and Mackey are full go. There's no saving for either of those cars. So those cars are both completely going, and they're on full pace. So they're going to blow by them here. Zach Lockett will re-inherit the lead, but we know more than likely that he's going to have to come back to pit road at some point. So at some point, we know that Mackey for sure has to, with how early he came to pit road. He's trying to split this run into thirds and make the pit stop faster, which again on this last stop may benefit him. We'll see. I think Zach Lockett's going to have him beat on that. He's going to have to make a short pit stop here at the end of this race. But Mackey's in striking distance. That's what's important. I think Mackey's hope is that his stop would be short now. He can come out on fresh tires and gain time to where he could jump in front of Lockett after that last pit stop for both of them. But now these guys have to hope that none of the cars behind them can make it. Christian Schrader's hopped to Ryan Patty, by the way. Patty's fourth. Schrader is third. Adam Pettit is fifth. And he came to pit road only a lap before the other cars did. Can he make the end of the race? Is he in contention for his first win? All kinds of stories. All kinds of stories. One car going to the apron. Brian Cunningham. He's got it underneath him, though. I wondered if something was going to happen there, but nothing does. 24 to go. We reset. And now the question is who can make it and who can't. Who's going to have to make another pit stop? Who's going to run out trying to save? Where is this race going to go from here? 24 to go. Again, we're in this kind of waiting game where we see when does Chris Mackey come to pit road? Does he lose his time here to Zach Lockett? Does he kind of go at the beginning of the window here? When the window's open, does he go now and open the window very early? Take a short pit stop, kind of match Zach Lockett. Take a short pit stop and come to pit road inside of, early, and he does, right on cue, right as I started talking about it. I tell you, we'll see how this plays out. He's going to have not much drafting help, but not really anybody does, except for Schrader and Patty, and the Pettit, Little, Watkins, Eldred group, which are all kind of towing along right now. Everybody else is kind of separated. This is genius, I think, from Chris Mackey. In terms of the cards they have to play, because in this race, the way it's going, Lockett, Mackey, if anybody can make it on this last run of the race, these guys are not going to win. It's just not going to happen. They played it the traditional way, and arguably the smarter way. It's obviously less of a gamble, but in doing so, they put themselves in a position where they are reliant on other cars not making it. 22 to go. But this is genius for Mackey. The card he has to play is he wants to even up Zach Lockett on pit road so that if cars start to run out, or if a late race caution brings us all back together, he could be either right behind, right around, or in front of Lockett. He wants to even up his pit stop time. That's what he did. Now see what kind of delta he can gain in this next, I would say, about 14 laps or so before we see Zach Lockett come to pit road. I don't think he can gain 8 laps. Lockett, this would be a stretch. This would be a stretch for Lockett to go about 30 laps on the tank of gas. It would be a lot. It would actually be more like 32. It'd be asking a lot. Now we'll see. There's a number of these guys, Patty and Watkins, only have to go 27. You wonder, can Lockett get an extra 3-4 laps out of it? Could he spoil the entire party? It would be asking a heck of a lot. Now he's got some room to do it. Schrader is a distant 15 seconds back of the race leader. So he's got some room, but he's not yet shown me in the pace that he is willing to save. Button there. He's not shown me yet in the pace that he's willing to save. In fact, he ran a 52.11 last time, but heck, Schrader and Patty aren't saving. 52.01, 52.08. Everybody else appears to me to be saving. The top 3 cars on the racetrack right now are running some of their best laps of the afternoon or best laps of the evening with 20 to go. And I think they're on opposite sides of the coin. For Lockett, I think it's because he knows he can't. Because he knows he can't go the full distance here. He's going to have to finish trying to maximize his time delta. Schrader and Patty, I almost wonder if they know they can make it. And they're full go because they know they can get to the end of the race. They're just trying to open up a gap. In fact, it's about 7 seconds between them and Adam Pettit right now. With 19 to go, Zach Lockett leads, 15 seconds ahead of Christian Schrader and Ryan Pettit. Adam Pettit is 4th, and his group is himself, Andrew Hill in 5th, Harold Watkins in 6th, and Cody Eldred in 7th. James Patrone and the Chris Mackey car run 8th and 9th. They're the only cars left on the lead lap. Bourbonier and Carlson both had problems on pit road. They have since gone 1 lap down. Martino has since parked his race car. That was a little while ago. Here are the pit situations. Chris Mackey, pit with about 24 to go to open this final cycle of pit stops. He pit early in the second run. He pit early in this last run, right when the window opened. He came to pit road to minimize his pit stop time. He's the only car to have made a final pit stop time. The leader, Zach Lockett, we assume is going to have to pit 10 laps from now with about 8 laps to go in the race. It's about the number I have written down. We assume he cannot make it at this point. But if he was able to save on this run, or if he was able to save some on the last run, he may make it to inside 5 to go. But I don't believe that he can stretch this tank the rest of the way. The cars that are going to attempt to make it, it appears, are Christian Schrader in 2nd, Ryan Patty in 3rd. They are what I believe to be the closest on fuel other than Cody Eldred. Adam Pettit in 4th, Harold Watkins in 5th, Cody Eldred in 6th, Andrew Little in 7th. I think all those cars are going to at least make an attempt to make it to the finish. Will they make it without running out? Who knows? It's very close. I can tell you, just on the raw numbers, it's very close. With 17 to go, we're in a bit of a holding pattern here, as Lockett continues just to be full go, which tells me I just don't believe he can make it. I don't think he believes it either. 52.22. And we've got guys, Andrew Little ran a 54.87. And now Schrader and Patty have backed their pace down too. So it becomes the waiting game here. 16 to go. Again, we're in this holding pattern where we are waiting to find out which of the leaders, if any, get to the end on gas. It'll be 14 to go at the line for Zach Lockett, who I'm not sure helpless is the word. Again, a lot can still happen in 15 laps in Indianapolis. Could still have a caution. We could have some guys run out. This could still benefit him. But the assumption at this point is that he is on the back end of this strategy. And sometimes that happens in racing. Again, I alluded to it a little bit earlier. It's why we love it so much. You just never know. Something could always happen. Somebody could crash in the last 14 laps and Lockett could see his race flipped completely on its head. It's why we love racing. You just never know what strategy is going to work. Again, we'd argue that Lockett and Mackey probably played it smart. But everybody else has now just put themselves in a position to gamble. Cody Eldred continues to run in the 6th spot. Andrew Little's dropped off that group by about 10 seconds as he is in hyper save mode with 14 to go. Cody Eldred is very much in the fight if those 3 cars can make it. Eldred pit the latest of everyone. So he is the best on fuel. When push comes to shove and guys start to run out, Cody Eldred, I believe, can the word I'm looking for here. Definitively, Cody Eldred can make it. It's everyone else that we're now questioning. For a moment, Schrader and Patty had opened up about a 10-second lead on Adam Pettit. That lead is starting to fade just a little. It's about now down under 8 seconds. If that group gets there, this race is going to take a complete turn, by the way. If the Pettit group catches Schrader and Patty, because they have to start backing out to save. This race is going to take a complete turn on its head. Lockett's going to get some help right here from Race. He's going to track off him here down the front stretch. 12 laps to go. I said 8 to go when we see Lockett on pit road. He might be able to go a little bit longer than that. Looks like they're stretching the fuel tanks a little bit more on this last run. But, again, 8 laps is a long way to go. I just don't know if Lockett's got it in him. 11 to go at the line. Just await that first pit stop. By the way, the gap's opened back up to about 8.5 seconds now between Schrader, Patty, and the Pettit group. So, again, that gap continues to fluctuate, but Pettit and them are not close enough yet to make it happen. But my question is, with Schrader and Patty, Ryan Patty, my Christian Schrader, tried to. They're going to battle here. That's not going to help them. As they're side by side. Ryan Patty makes the pass here. But as these guys continue to kind of duke it out, by the way, that gap again fluctuates back down. My question with those two cars, again, their pace has not faded much during this run, although Schrader's has now. So now I think Schrader's gone into save mode. Is Ryan Patty, is he good? Is he trusting that he might be good? I'm not sure what the situation is on his car. Zach Lockett will come off turn 4. It's only now 10 laps to go. Potential victory here. Can we assume Lockett cannot make it? My question with Patty has become, did he hit the go button because he realized he can make it, or did he hit the go button because he realized he cannot make it? So he's going to be short. And now just wants to maximize his time before he has to come to pit road. Both are possible here with 10 laps to go. It's a long way. It's 25 miles still at a very long Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Off turn 4, Lockett. Is he coming here? He's coming here. And he's going to pit earlier than I thought. So he's 2 laps early. And that could completely change our understanding of this race. Can they go 27 laps on a fuel tank? Zach Lockett gives up the lead at Indy with 10 laps to go to come to pit road. And now the onus is on the cars that have opted to try to save and make it to the end. But they have a long way to go. Ryan Patty inherits the lead. It's a 9.1 second advantage on Adam Pettit, the next group of cars. It's 4/10 on Christian Schrader. As Lockett cedes the lead. Mackey got around Catrone, by the way. That's for 8. Mackey's picking up Delta in case these guys start to run out in front of him here. Patty off turn 4. Schrader's now keeping pace with him. I wonder if he's towing along, just trying to save some gas. This is actually going to help Ryan Patty, too. Save a little bit of gas. Potentially be able to make or break it. This could make the difference for Ryan Patty, whether or not he makes it the rest of the way. But he's still got a long way to go. Again, 8 laps is a lot to ask. Schrader starting to get right back to his back bumper. Is Patty starting to back off? By the way, I thought one of the cars out of the second group had pit. They have not. Is Patty starting to hit the stop button just a little bit here? He's backed off Bourbonnier. Boy, oh boy. Well, now he's going to go around Bourbonnier, so scratch that of the notion of towing behind the Bourbonnier car. Scratch that notion here off turn 4, but here comes Christian Schrader again. If both these guys can make it, we're in for a classic battle for the win. This is a guy who's won multiple times, and Christian Schrader, this is the defending champion, Ryan Patty, in a potential battle for the victory at the Brickyard. If, and only if, they can make it on fuel. It looks like Zach Lockett did take what I would have given him as advice. Took only what he needed on the pit road in terms of fuel and has opened up an 8-second lead on Chris Mack. Patty snaking down the back straightaway, trying to shake off Christian Schrader in the 29, but it's kind of similar to Michigan, what we saw. That kind of breaks your momentum up on corner entry and messes you up for turn 3, and also doesn't benefit you in the time lost in the draft. So the snaking, while it is creative from Ryan Patty and makes Christian Schrader work, Schrader's still gaining time, still in the slipstream, and he's keeping his car straight. In fact, he's smart not to follow the snake of Patty and having to reset his corner. He's actually smarter to just get the draft, use the slipstream, and carry that momentum down the front straightaway. Keep close. Patty Group's 9 seconds back. They're not going to be a factor as long as these two can both make it. Patty again snakes down the back straightaway. Still 9 seconds back to the next group. Schrader lost a bunch right there. Not sure if it was arrow tight or what happened. He loses a bunch. 5 out the flag stand. Ryan Patty trying to get the job done and steal away another one. This would be 3 in a row for Ryan Patty. Stole away last week's race at North Wilkesboro, stole away the win in Atlanta, and would, granted on strategy, but by definition, he's stealing away the win at Indianapolis. But he's got to make it 5 laps. The fuel tank has to make it the rest of the way. Four to go. 10 miles left. Will the fuel tank make it to the end of 5 miles for Ryan, or rather, to the end of 10 miles for Ryan Patty? Will Christian Schrader take it away in the last moment? Will it be one of the cars running third on back? All the way to the grass. Patty kicking up dirt. He's so close to the infield grass. Back to turn 3. Should be noted, Ryan Patty led the opening 25 laps this race. Again, maybe stealing the race is not the way I should have put that, because it would not be stealing it. Again, Patty is a very fast car. He's the defending champ. He led the opening 25-plus laps of this race. So, in that regard, stealing it's not exactly the word I would use. But regardless, in terms of how this race played out in stage 2, you could argue he would have swiped another one. He's driving away from Christian Schrader, so if the fuel tank makes it and he hits his marks, he's on tap for a third straight win. You will see popsicle sticks from Barney the Flag Man right here. Off turn 4. 2 laps to go. He still has no indication of coming to pit road. Will the fuel tank make it 2 more times around Indianapolis? Schrader starting to close the gap just a little. I don't know if he'll get close enough here. He'd have to have a monster couple laps to get close enough to Patty to really make a dent in it here, although he's starting to pick up time just a little bit, so will he be able to put the pressure on? He's got to have a good 3 and 4, but if he makes this close on the last lap, this could get very interesting here. He's within 0.6 of a second back to turn 3. Got to be good on this end of the speedway. Good there through 3. Got to be good through turn 4. Can he gain anything here? Not really. Back to the start-finish line. He's within 0.6, but is he close enough? White flag is up. Can Patty make it 2.5 miles? To turn 1. Schrader trying a last-ditch effort to get to Ryan Patty. Loses a little bit there in 1. May have overdrove it, but gained a little bit on exit. He made it stick. Not going to gain anything on exit of 2, though. Here's the ball out. He's half a second back. Patty gets a tow off a lap car. And that could be very well be all she wrote if his fuel tank makes it back. Through 3. For the final time. Schrader way overdrives turn 3. Gets the wall. Patty off turn 4 for the final time. Schrader appears to be out of gas. He is out off turn 4, but the defending champ swipes away another one. How does he do it? Ryan Patty wins again. It's 3 straight at the Brickyard. And the defending champ will kiss the bricks on the front stretch. So Ryan Patty will come off turn 4. I think he's out of fuel now, too. Gonna come off turn 4. No rule about no burning out on the bricks here in the Challenger Cup Series. I'm just not sure he'll be able to do a burnout. And, well, he does have enough for a burnout. And that's all the burnout we get. That's all the gas that was left in the tank for Ryan Patty. Or, well, maybe not. He's got the car in gear here. There he goes. Again, no rule about no burning out on the bricks. Let's see if he hits the rear tires across the yard of bricks here if he just parks it on the yard of bricks, which he may very well do. The front straightaway. Nope, he will burn out across the bricks. Or will he? Doesn't look like he is just going to park it there. Unofficial results. Having a problem with that graphic, so I'm not going to be able to bring it up here in this one. Ryan Patty's your winner. Christian Schrader finishes in second, even though he ran out of gas off turn 4 on the last lap. Adam Pettit, another podium for him. A third-place finish for the 49. Harold Watkins goes fourth. Cody Eldred goes fifth. Zach Lockett, close but no cigar again. He goes sixth tonight in Indy. Chris Mackey in seventh. Spirited efforts for both. They're on the wrong end of the strategy tonight. James Catrone eighth. Andrew Little ninth. Hunter Carlson in 10th. Greg Bourbonier is 11th. Anthony Rayso 12th. Brandon Beauchamp 13th. Brian Cunningham 14th. Mike Martino in 15th. Bill Gartner 16th. Steve Potter 17th. Stephen Rasick in 18th. And John Velasity credited with the 19th and final finishing position tonight. So we'll start in some post-race interviews now. We're actually going to start with a man who finished in the third spot. Adam Pettit has had a pretty good start to his Challenger Cup Series career here in Season 2 of 2026. He finished on the podium back at Atlanta, led a bunch of laps in that one. Had a good night tonight as well, though it was a little bit quieter than that one. You'll take it if you're Adam Pettit. Another third-place finish for him tonight. It's in Indy. Adam Pettit, third place tonight on the Brickyard. Adam, it's Dawson, the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you, buddy.
Another third-place finish for you. Good start to the season in 2026. And the first fuel race, really, of the entire year, and that counts Season 1 as well. You know, kind of take me through what you saw at the windshield in terms of strategy as this race went on. Kind of when you realized that everybody was going to be able to make it on just that one more stop. You know, just take me through the entire finish to this one from your perspective.
Yeah, you know, I think you kind of called it there. It became a fuel mileage race. After the stage, that first stint, I didn't really think about saving much fuel. The second stint, I saved a lap, and then on this final run, I pretty much coasted it into every corner entry until about like 5 laps to go. But surprisingly, I was faster doing that than I was normally. So, you know, obviously not as hard on the tires on, you know, entry because I'm not using brake and all that kind of stuff. So it all worked out in my favor. Typically, these fuel mileage races don't do that. I even saved a little bit too much because I still had at least another lap in the tank. But I wouldn't have had anything for first and second anyway. So just glad to get out of here with the top 3 tonight.
And some great good runs to start the year. Obviously led laps in Atlanta back a couple of weeks ago as well. So you've had some good runs here to start your career and to start this season. Now heading into an off week, and you know, kind of take me through what this kind of does for you as a driver. Is it a reset? Is it an extra chance to prep for the short tracks coming up? Kind of, you know, take me through what you're going to do with this off week and how you set your mind for the season to come.
Well, it's going to be a big old rig change. I'm getting rid of triple monitors and going back to a single monitor just due to space limitations that I am now facing. So hopefully I can get this done this weekend and then spend the next, you know, week and a half practicing going back to a single monitor. So we'll see what that looks like going to a short track.
Well, third for you tonight in Indy on fuel mileage. Another good finish to start your tenure here in the Challenger Cup Series. So before we let you go and obviously get to work on the rig change, but also get prepped for the next one in 2 weeks, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to, you know, Rusty and Harold and Andrew and everyone over here that runs this league. You know, Christian kind of brought me over here and it's been a lot of fun, good group of guys. We don't have the biggest fields, but honestly, I would take this kind of racing over big fields any day. So thank you for everyone that's involved with this league and you for killer broadcasts. I remember watching yours from years ago. I absolutely love them. Compare them there with the Coke series. So just keep doing what you're doing, Dawson.
Well, Adam, appreciate your time for talking to me here for just a second. Congratulations on the third place run tonight at the Brickyard. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you out on a brand new rig here in a couple weeks after the off week.
Right on. Thank you, buddy.
Adam Pettit, third for him tonight. A second podium finish for him here in 2026. Christian Schrader got passed by Ryan Patty late. You imagine he'll take it based on the fuel mileage situation. It's a great finish for Christian Schrader, who came into tonight fifth in the point standings. He'll stand to gain a couple of those positions back and get up towards the top 3 in the points here for this season, and also kind of get himself back into the conversation in the full season points as well as we approach the full season chase. He finishes second tonight. You would always love to win, but the fact the fuel tank made it, I think, is going to be an extra bonus for Christian Streeter, the second place finisher tonight from Indy. Christian, it's Dawson, the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's up, Dawson?
Well, not too much. Look, a fuel mileage race tonight, and I feel like it's been a while since we've seen one of these in the Challenger Cup Series, but it comes down to the fuel tank that has enough, and I was genuinely convinced there were 2 cars in the field that could make it, and you guys proved me wrong. A number of cars make it at the end, although off turn 4, the car appears to sputter out of gas. Is that the case? Were you just a little bit short? Obviously, you still make it to the line, but just take me through what that strategy was like and kind of, the math going on in the last stage of this race.
Yeah, I did run out at the very end there. I messed up and I let the auto fuel the car. I should have been the one with the best fuel situation. I ran the longest, pitted the latest, and ended up in a worse situation than Ryan. So that really hurt there. Had to really back it down at the end and try to figure out how to save a couple laps that I didn't have that I knew Ryan had, and it just was going to be too much to try to save and keep in front of him. And I mean, unfortunately, that's how it works out sometimes. But most of the race, it was don't pass the 30, but stay with him and save gas. So whatever pace Ryan wanted to run, I was going to run the exact same pace. We were talking, and he was like, yeah, I was running like 80% on the straightaways. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't going to go around you no matter what it came down to, because if I would have passed him, he would have did the exact same thing and sat behind me. And I thought, like, it ended up where I ended up with the advantage there. Just made a mistake. That's the hard part is getting in these fuel races. You're doing a lot of math. I mean, it really took from stage all the way to the end of the race, calculating out how many laps you needed to run, making sure that you were running the time, because I mean, it came down to being pretty much perfect to make it on fuel there. I know a lot of guys did a lot of saving and everything like that, but and were able to make it at the end there, but they did a really good job saving themselves, and also just trying to keep pace with Ryan at the same time as saving, which makes it difficult. I'm not one to be the best at fuel mileage racing, so I'm pretty happy that I actually made it to the end of the race and crossed the line in second at least.
Well, an off week now to kind of reset. Obviously, we talked about the points implication tonight. You're getting back into the conversation in the full season points to make a chase run. You're obviously going to be back in the top 3 here for season 2 to make a chase run there as well. So, an off week is kind of a reset, but some short tracks coming up. Richmond, Iowa, Loudon coming up as well. Of course, Daytona looms over the horizon also. But we kind of get into some tracks coming up that I feel like suit you. Darlington's not too far on the horizon, amongst some others. Obviously with the points in mind, kind of how do you use this off week to prepare for the stretch run of the season to get into the chase?
I mean, hopefully I do. I feel pretty good about trying to make the chase here. So I think that I'm in a pretty decent points position to be able to kind of work my way up especially as we get into some of my better tracks there, and just being a little bit more consistent there. But it's gonna be tough to catch Ryan, try to get up and get into a top points position here. So the plan is really to try to go out, lead a lot of laps, win some races now. I know that Daytona is kind of a little bit of a, I wouldn't say luck, but some things definitely have to play in your favor to get a good finish out of there, and to also or to come away with a win. But put in some good effort here at short tracks, try to get a little bit better at them. Not typically my best style of racetrack, but got a little extra motivation, and hopefully that'll help me find a little extra pace and be able to see myself in victory lane here soon. Especially once we get to Darlington, I can't. That'll be fun. Ryan's really good there too. Harold's really good there. I know that Lockett's been fast, and so is Mackey. So I think we'll have some good battles. Just kind of focus on trying to come out on top of them more often than not as we go through the rest of the season here. So I can try to make up that points loss from last week. That was a pretty big hit.
Well, you end up on the right end of some fuel mileage tonight. You coast across the line, but hey, that counts all the same. A second place finish for you in Indy headed into the off week. So before we let you go and take some time off, but get right back to work for those short tracks who would you like to thank or shout out?
Just want to say a shout out to Rusty and Matt and Andrew and everybody that puts us all together. Of course, big shout out to you in the booth. We love having you here, and I think that's really about it. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you next week.
Well, Christian, thanks for the time. Congratulations on a second place finish tonight at Indy. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you in 2 weeks here after the off week.
Yep. 2 weeks. Thank you, Dawson.
Christian Schrader, second tonight at Indy. Forgot about the off week. Would have been Michael Waltrip next week, showing up at the wrong track. If Christian Schrader had gone to, I believe it is Richmond, a couple of weeks early, or a week early. We'll move now to the man in victory lane, and I said it when he crossed the start-finish line there. How does he do it? As the defending champion, Ryan Patty finds yet another way to win a race in this series. He's won on last lap passes. He's won on pure dominance. He's won at a drafting track, and he's now won a fuel mileage race to the point where he's running out of ways to win races. He's now won 3 straight to start this season, races 2, 3, and 4. After a 6th place finish, I believe, at Chicagoland, he's now railed off 3 straight wins, headed into the off week. The defending champ firmly at hold of the points lead, and that points lead will grow with another win tonight at the Brickyard. Ryan, it's Dawson, the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I just said it a second ago, and I think Christian alluded to it a moment ago as well. You found another way to win one of these races. Again, you've won on speed, you've won on last lap passes, you've won on chaos, you won a drafting track for the first time a couple weeks ago, and now you've won a fuel mileage race in this series. The first one in a while, nonetheless. Let's start with that. When did you guys realize that you could make it on fuel? Kind of what were you guys doing to extend the tank and make it to the end? How'd you do it here tonight at the Brickyard?
Yeah, I mean, anytime it's possible or it's within reach, we're looking at fuel mileage, and as soon as I should say the only stage happened, we're looking at the mileage and saying, well, geez, it's like 27, 28 laps per stint if you want to stop it, and that's stretchable. I mean, you're stretching about a lap, maybe a lap and a half to make that happen if you don't shift, right? Which was something to do too, right? Some folks were shifting to be fast, and you could really run 5th if you had a good toe. So at that point, Lockett had stayed out. I knew he was fast, but because he had flipped the stage, I knew he'd be, I think, 6 or 7 laps short, which meant there's no way he'd be able to stretch it. So at that point, you just kind of play the hand you're dealt, and I'm banking on no cautions and say, okay, if there are no cautions, we're just going to ride. So basically just, tried to get off in second. The 9 car got around me. So I just slotted into 3rd place and said, all right, we're going to shove this thing in a 5th gear. We're going to back off early. We're not going to go full throttle in the short shoots and do what we can to try to save as much fuel. And as the run went on and, one pit stop turned into 2, it came, pretty obvious that it was going to be pretty much a fuel mileage run to the end. So I just did the best I could to be as consistent as I could running part throttle. And just basically one eye out the windshield, one eye on the fuel mileage for the rest. I mean, what was that? 80 laps, I think we did that final run.
Yeah, we ran from the end there, 30 to 110, a couple of pit stops mixed in there as well. But, to win another type of race, obviously we talk about it on speed, drafting track, chaos races where you kind of end up in the lead late. Now to win a fuel mileage race, you've rattled off 3 in a row. After a 6th place finish or what have you to start the year, kind of what does this do for you to take the points lead and take it, in a big way heading into this off week? What does that do for you as we head into season 2 as you continue to defend your championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I wouldn't have imagined I'd be in this good of a position for the second half of the year, especially with the I don't want to say increase in talent because we've already had some pretty good talent here, but like there's just more of it, right? Christian Strader now running full time, Zach Lockett coming into the league, Chris Mackey coming into the league, and all the other guys that have been here that are fast just makes it that much more difficult to stand out and not even win races, but be consistently on the podium or top 5. So I've said it before, Zach Lockett is blazing fast. I think he had the pole the last 2 weeks. It just unfortunate circumstances took the win away from him. So I feel a little bit lucky to be walking away with 3 wins here. Sometimes you just got to put yourself in position and things work out. So yeah, I mean, feels great to be doing it in different fashions. It's just it's exciting. It gives me a lot of pride to know that yeah, I'm not just a one trick pony, and whatever type of race there is, I can figure out a way to get up front and in recent cases walk away with the win.
Well, an off week now, a bit of a reset for you here early in this second season. It falls at a really interesting time. We just got this schedule underway in season 2. When we come back, a trio of short tracks all leading into Daytona. Iowa, Richmond, New Hampshire, Daytona, and the full season points schedule, the regular season that is, before we start that chase at Darlington. Some tricky tracks coming up, even up till Darlington. Gateway, Bristol still on the horizon. It's a tough stretch of tracks, sandwiched with a drafting track. What's the game plan for the off week to try to game plan for some really tough, tracks, tough races coming up on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise if anyone's ever looked at my stats. Iowa is by far my worst track. It's weird. I mean, it's not a wildly different track than most of the ones we go to. Kind of a mid-size short track, I guess, if you want to call it that. They had a repave. I have not been able to figure that place out. So if I can walk away with a top 10 at Iowa, I'll be happy. I do not expect to be running anywhere near the front there, but that just kind of is what it is. But outside of that, the rest of the schedule, I feel very confident. I mean, these are tracks we've been going to for years. I think I won at Richmond last year. New Hampshire's a track I've won at. Daytona is, basically a lottery depending on where you can end up there. But from there on into the full season chase, it's a bunch of old favorites. So, yeah, I mean, gloves are off. Once we get to the chase, going to do everything we can to, try to run clean, run up front, and take away as many points as we can. Hopefully, take home another trophy.
Well, took home another trophy tonight in Indianapolis, this time on fuel mileage, as you get your third win of this season and your third straight here in Challenger Cup Series action. So before we let you go and kind of relax for a little bit in this off week next week, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, relax is key. This was a long race, but thank you, Dawson, for putting on a good show here and doing what you do. I know some of these races, especially these long ones that are fuel mileage, aren't easy to call. So look forward to going back and watching it, listening to the commentary. It's always fun to hear it. Shout out to Rusty, didn't make it here tonight, but does a great job putting together stuff behind the scenes to help out Challenger. Andrew, Harold as well. Shout out to putting together a 110 lap race at Indy. I think everyone was real happy with that. And I love you to my wife, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for all the support.
Ryan, thanks for talking to us here for a second. Congratulations on your third straight win in this season at Indy tonight. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. Enjoy the off week. We'll see you at Iowa here in a couple of weeks.
I appreciate you, Dawson. Thank you.
Ryan Patty, he keeps finding ways to do it, folks. He does it again tonight at the Brickyard. It will start to bring us to the end of our coverage here tonight, and we will segue now into the big business of the week. We'll start first with recapping tonight, though. Ryan Patty wins on fuel mileage. Again, we have not had a fuel mileage race that I recall since Kansas last year that Hunter Carlson won. So this was a new territory for a lot of drivers in this series, Ryan Patty included. We had not really seen much of a fuel mileage race in the time since that Kansas race last May. So to see it tonight, a welcome return for fuel mileage racing. It ends up making this Brickyard race be a very interesting one to call, to watch, to analyze, kind of just see what was going to happen. But in the end, the defending champ is inevitable. Ryan Patty, his third straight win tonight in Indianapolis. He's able to stretch the fuel tank, make it back to the checkered flag, and even have some left for a burnout. He will take an extended points lead into now what is an off week, as multiple drivers will, I'm sure, utilize this off week to relax. Our first off week as a series in a while at this point. First Tuesday without racing in a long time. So for the drivers, this will be a welcome moment of relaxation. No relaxation for me this week, though, and that is going to bring me to transitioning to the business of this week, and that is the PGR SummerSlam 499. It's coming up over the next 5 days. It all begins tomorrow night on PGR eSports. Real quick, we are back next Tuesday, we are back in 2 weeks. Remember, there is an off week. There is no race next week. We are back at Iowa in 2 weeks' time in the month of August. Keep that in mind. We are not back until the month of August. There is no Challenger race next week. We'll pick it up in Iowa in 2 weeks. Now, back to the business of this week. Tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, here on PGR eSports, We will begin the SummerSlam 499 with 2 heat races. The opening 2 races of the week tomorrow night, 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern here on PGR eSports. Myself, Austin Green, going to be calling those races. Looking forward to getting the biggest sim racing event of the summer underway in a good way tomorrow night. Then Thursday night, it's 3 heat races. It begins at 8 p.m. right here, back on PGR eSports. Myself and Justin Prince, the voice of the Moonshiners Racing League, the voice of Saturday Thunder, the voice of kart racing across the United States, will join me on Thursday night for 3 more heat races. Heats 3, 4, and 5. That is 8, 9, and 10 p.m. Eastern Time here on PGR eSports. Friday night, Garrett Jenkins, the voice of McCullough Motorsports, a.k.a. Jim Bob, is going to join me for 3 final heats. Heats 6, 7, and 8. It includes most of the big names in the event, which are going to take place on Friday night, including one of the most stacked heat races I've ever seen for a marquee race. You won't want to miss that one. That is 8, 9, and 10 p.m. on Friday night. Saturday evening, starting at 6:30, it'll be last chance qualifiers 1 and 2. That's for the drivers that don't advance straight out of their heat races. They will have one more opportunity to race in the Sunday afternoon's feature on Saturday evening. We will also have the top 24 shootout race where the top 12 rows will lock into their starting spots for Sunday, as well as the last chance provisional race, which will see the last 1 provisional spot for Sunday afternoon's PGR SummerSlam 499 be given out. 25 spots, 1 winner, 1 provisional, one of the highest stakes races in series history. Saturday night to wrap it up. That's around 10 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. Then Sunday afternoon at 1:30 p.m., PGR pre-race will go live from Talladega on both PGR eSports and the iRacing official YouTube page as we begin pre-race and pre-race ceremonies for the SummerSlam 499, which goes green on Sunday, August 2nd at 2 p.m. Eastern right here, not only on PGR eSports, but also on the iRacing YouTube page. Looking forward to the event this week. That race at 188 laps, 499 miles to determine the king of the summer of super speedway sim racing. Blake Ray trying to defend his 2-time win in this event. Multiple other drivers trying to make history. A ton of underdogs set to try to make their Lake Peterson moment happen next Sunday afternoon. It's one of the biggest events in series history. The SummerSlam 499, the 3rd annual running of the biggest sim racing event of the summer, is finally upon us. That's going to just about wrap it up for tonight from Indianapolis, though. I want to thank you for your attendance and participation in tonight's broadcast of the Challenger Cup Series from Indianapolis and Round 4 of the 2026 second season campaign. Congratulations to Ryan Patty on a 3rd straight victory in the series, and he will head into the off week as an extended points leader. That will do it for us tonight. It's time to say farewell from the Brickyard. We will see you in a couple of weeks from Iowa, and we'll see you tomorrow night in less than 24 hours for the kickoff of the SummerSlam 499. Good night.